You know the feeling. You wake up, you do the finger prick, you check your numbers, and there it is again, that high reading. It is so frustrating because you're doing everything you're supposed to do, right? You're giving up foods you love, but that number just doesn't seem to budge. Well, today we're going to dive into a doctor's guide that looks at things a little differently. We're focusing on 3 specific, humble leaves that might just target the root causes of these problems.
Oh, this hits home for so many people. You look at that little number on the screen and it just feels like a failing grade, doesn't it? Like all your hard work was for nothing. But what if it's not about you? What if the problem is happening on a totally different level, a cellular level you can't even see?
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why isn't this working? The information we're exploring today suggests it's not a lack of willpower. It's not about trying harder. It's about what's called a cellular roadblock. Think of it like a traffic jam inside your body. It's a mechanical problem, which means it just might have a mechanical solution.
Okay, let's get right into it. Problem number 1, that frustrating morning number. You go to bed with a good reading, you do everything right, so why in the world is it higher when you wake up? It feels like it makes no sense. Well, this is where our first leaf comes in, and it's aimed at this exact problem.
So here's what's actually going on. While you're asleep, your liver does its job and releases some glucose into your bloodstream, to fuel your body. That's perfectly normal. The problem is your muscle cells, which are supposed to be like little sponges soaking up that glucose, well, they're basically putting up a closed for business sign. Doctors have a name for this: insulin resistance.
I love this analogy because it makes it so clear. Imagine your cells have a tiny door with a lock on it. Your body makes the key. That's insulin. But the lock is just rusted shut. It's jammed. So you can have all the keys you want, but if the lock won't turn, that door stays closed, and all that sugar gets stuck outside in your bloodstream.
So, how do we unjam that lock? This is where the humble bay leaf comes in. It has a really cool 2-part plan. First, it's got a compound called eugenol, which acts kind of like a lubricant. It helps clean the rust off those insulin receptors so the key can finally fit and turn. And second, it delivers a really nice dose of magnesium, which gives your cells the actual physical strength they need to open that door and pull the glucose in. Okay, so fixing that morning number is huge. But let's be honest, the deeper fear for a lot of us is what high blood sugar is doing to our bodies in the long run, specifically to our heart. This isn't just about a number anymore. It's about protecting yourself from some really serious damage down the road.
The villain in this story is a process called glycation. When you have too much sugar just hanging around in your blood, it gets sticky. It starts latching onto proteins, especially the proteins that make up the walls of your arteries and blood vessels. And when it does that, it makes those flexible vessels hard and stiff. Over time, that's what can lead to things like high blood pressure and other heart issues.
This image is, well, it's a little intense, but it's so accurate. You know how when you heat sugar in a pan, it turns into that sticky, brown, hard caramel? That same chemical process is, in a sense, happening inside your blood vessels. It's literally making your flexible arteries brittle. So how do we fight back against this caramelization? We turn to our second hero, the guava leaf. And it has this awesome 3-part defense system. First, it has quercetin, which works like a microscopic shield protecting the delicate inner lining of your arteries. Second, it actually slows down how fast you absorb carbs from your food, which helps prevent those big, damaging sugar spikes. And finally, its natural vitamin C helps your artery walls relax and stay flexible, which lets your heart work a whole lot less hard.
So we've talked about the morning issue and the long-term damage, but what about the here and now? What about that anxiety you feel right when you sit down for a meal? That dread of the huge energy crash that comes from that inevitable blood sugar spike afterward? This is where our third leaf, the mulberry leaf, becomes a total game changer. It has this very rare special molecule with a super long scientific name. Let's just call it DNJ. And what DNJ does is pretty amazing. It physically intercepts the carbohydrates in your stomach before they even get a chance to turn into sugar in your blood. This is the brilliant part. Your gut has these enzymes whose only job is to find carbs and break them down in sugar. But DNJ looks almost identical to a sugar molecule. So when you drink mulberry leaf tea before a meal, the DNJ gets in there first. The enzymes get confused, they latch onto the DNJ decoy instead of the real carbs, and poof, they're basically blindfolded. They can't do their job, and a good chunk of the carbs from your meal just passed right through your system without being absorbed as sugar. And the result?
It's pretty incredible. Studies show that when you use this decoy strategy correctly, you can cut the glucose spike from your meal by up to 40%. I mean, think about that. That's not just slightly managing a spike, it's preventing a huge chunk of it from ever even happening.
Okay, so we've covered the why for all three of these amazing leaves. We get how they work. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about the how. This is the practical, step-by-step plan that puts it all together.
This chart just makes it so simple, right? You've got bay leaf in the evening to tackle those high morning numbers. Guava leaf comes in before your biggest meal of the day to protect your arteries. And mulberry leaf is your secret weapon, taken just before you eat carbs to block those mealtime spikes. Each leaf has a very specific job and a very specific time to do it for the best effect.
All right, let's get specific. For the bay leaf, you've got to be precise. 2 dried leaves in a cup. Now this next part is critical. Pour hot water over them, but do not use boiling water. If it's too hot, you'll actually destroy the good stuff in the leaves. Let it steep for exactly 10 minutes and drink it warm in the evening. That's it.
Next up, the guava leaf. Think of this as your pre-meal defender. You'll use 4 leaves, steep them for 10 minutes. But here, we're going to add a couple of powerful side chicks, the juice of half a lemon and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And these aren't just for flavor. They actually work together with the guava leaf to boost its artery-protecting powers. Drink it about 15-20 minutes before your biggest meal. Now, for the mulberry leaf, the timing is absolutely everything. This is the most strict one. You have to drink this tea exactly 10 to 15 minutes before your first bite of food. Not an hour before, not during the meal. Any later, and you've missed the window. You're basically sending in the decoy team to get in position right before the carbs arrive.
Okay, everybody, I need you to lean in and listen to this part really closely. We've just talked about how powerful and effective this protocol can be. So, logically, we have to talk about the potential dangers of that success. This is your safety briefing, and it's the most important part of this whole discussion.
Here is the #1 risk, and it's a big one. If you are already taking medication to lower your blood sugar, and then you add these powerful leaves to the mix, your numbers could drop too far, too fast. This can lead to a very serious condition called hypoglycemia, which is dangerously low blood sugar. We have to prevent that.
So you're at a fork in the road. This slide shows the 2 paths you can take. The risky, dangerous path is seeing your numbers go down and thinking, awesome, I don't need my medication anymore, and stopping it on your own. Please never, ever do that. The safe path, the only path, is to see your numbers improving, pick up the phone, call your doctor and say, hey, something is working. Let's talk about adjusting my dosage together. You have to work with your doctor on this.
And you see what happens when you do this? By understanding the why, by knowing about things like glycation and DNJ, the whole conversation with your doctor changes. You're not just a patient anymore. You're an informed, active advocate for your own health. You can walk into that office with data, with knowledge, and have a real collaborative partnership.
And really, that's what this is all about. This isn't just about making tea, it's about arming yourself with knowledge so you can take back control of your health journey. The power shifts back to you. So the final question I want to leave you with is a simple one. Now that you know this, how will you advocate for yourself?